Welcome back to Dirty20, everybody. Today we discuss rolling dice, when to do it and why to do it. Let's get on with the show. So D&D is a game where rolling dice determines what your character is able to do and what they might know. There are other games where that's not really the case. There are other RPGs. So if you're one of these people who doesn't really enjoy the randomness of dice rolling, then there are some other systems that you can try out. But for D&D, dice rolling is central. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go over to our video on dice, where we discuss the basics about the kinds of dice that are used, and, you know, people's collections, things like that, good companies that you can get some sets of dice from. Well worth checking out. Now, one of the key elements for DMs, in my opinion, is knowing when to ask your players to roll dice, to make checks. Now, obviously, you know, when you attack, when you make saves, you have no choice here. That's, you know, you have to roll dice. But other times, it's up to the DM to ask the players to make a check for them. I tend to be quite strict in that I generally don't allow players to just announce that they're going to do a history check or an intimidation check or something like that. I like my players to describe to me what it is that they're trying to do, and then I will make I'll give a choice as to which skills a player might want to make a check on. I'm also quite open to being kind of convinced that a certain skill is more appropriate over the options that I've given a player. I think that's important, that you should be flexible in terms of you know, the choices that you give the player, and I think this adds to the whole collaborative kind of storytelling, and it also allows the player to establish what kind of character they are, what are the things that they do in order to achieve their goal. So, for example, if a character decides that they are trying to work out what they might know about a certain group, I may ask for a history check. In that situation, I'm quite open for the player to turn around and say, well, actually, could I do a religion check, because I feel like that's something that I know more about, and I might have heard of them at my temple or something like that. And again, I think it's really important to be open to those kinds of suggestions. So this does a couple of things. Number one, it allows the player, like I said, to play the character they want, play the character the way they want to play them. So, you know, a character who is very intelligent and knows their history and their arcane stuff, versus a character who maybe knows about religion and gods and things like that. But it allows players to use the skills they're good at. The second thing is that the information that I'm going to be giving the players is going to be colored by what skill they've chosen. So if somebody, like in the previous example, turns around and says, well, I want to use religion to get this information, then I might turn around and say, okay, well, you know these things about them that are spoken in religious circles, but maybe something else that would have been in history books or some just a different kind of information would not be given. And I think it's kind of fun, and it colors the way you disseminate information. One of the issues that I do have when it comes to rolling dice and skill checks and things like that is dogpiling. So this is where a character says, oh, well, I'd like to search the room, and they roll terribly. And then immediately another player turns around and says, oh, I want to search the room as well. And, you know, if one player does it, but then it's not uncommon for a bunch of players to turn around and say, well, I want to do it as well. Now, this is difficult because they're just trying to get a success, right? and that's kind of not the point of rolling and checks and things like that. So there's a couple of things that I like to try and do. First of all is I will allow people to help if it's something that a player can actually help with. If they're trying to remember something, no, you can't really help someone remember something. But again, I'm open to be convinced otherwise, though. Someone can talk me into it. But definitely, if it's searching a room, I'm gonna help this character search the room. Okay, great, advantage. That increases the likelihood that you are going to be successful massively, and it also means that other players feel like they are helping out. But I'm not a fan of the kind of dogpiling, everyone wanting to roll after someone has not been successful. The other thing that I quite often do is I ask everybody to roll, particularly with things like perception checks. And for me, it's a scale, right, of success or failure. If someone rolls terribly, well, you don't really notice anything out of place. If you roll okay, it's like, oh, something feels strange. If you roll spectacularly well, oh my god, you've spotted the creature that's hiding in the shadows. So, in that case, asking everybody to roll, I think, is fine. It's not something that I do all the time, but, every so often I ask everybody, please, perception check. And that's fine. Now, passive checks are something that I personally struggle with a little bit. The way you calculate a passive check is essentially 10 plus all modifiers. So, if you're proficient, whatever ability modifier you add to it. Sometimes this is referred to as taking 10. So the idea with passive checks is that you don't always want to ask PCs to make a roll, because this signals to them that something could be there. Again, if you're using this idea of a creature hiding, if you say to everyone, okay, everyone roll perception checks, then immediately everyone's thinking, okay, there must be something there, especially if no one does particularly well. So I get the purpose of the passive checks. I tend to think, though, that people like rolling dice. At least I do. So I don't use them that often. And honestly, I kind of also like using it to wake my players up. So if they're, like meandering or whatever, I'll be like, okay, perception check, everyone, please. Everyone rolls, maybe someone rolls really well. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't notice anything. And this is a way to kind of get people on their toes and, stuff like that. And you can use it as a bluff sometimes. It's like when sometimes if I'm playing face to face and I'll roll behind the screen, I'll just start rolling. And it makes the players go, oh, okay, hurry up, quickly, let's move, do something. But passive checks particularly make sense when it comes to hiding, for example, in that, you don't necessarily know that you're looking for someone, you're just, do you notice them is the thing. And by asking for a perception check, for example, you're kind of giving away that something's there. So there we have it, guys. My thoughts on rolling dice and skill checks and the like. Hopefully there's some useful stuff for you in there. What have your experiences been with skill checks and dice rolling at your table? Is dogpiling an issue that you've come across? How do you feel about passive checks? Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please smash that like button, drop us a comment down below, and share this with your friends. And as always, keep slaying. If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter, at MouthLabVictoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am EnanoLVP, and our producer is Jazzy J. Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.